Friends, let me welcome all of you for this virtual book release function of book written by Professor Mehta. The book is about, it is a kind of my life story, but it's not exactly my life, my professional life story of Professor Mehta. He has worked in NIEPA without leaving for a day, for a single day, for full 40 years, perhaps even more than that. Full 40 years he has worked in NIEPA, starting from very humble position to the very highest position in NIEPA as a professor and head of the Department of Education, Department of Education Management Information System. In fact, in the establishment of this department, Professor Mehta's role was very important. And I wouldn't like to speak anything about his professional life or his contents of his book, because anyway, Professor Mehta would be speaking on that. But let me give a brief introduction of Professor Mehta. Professor Mehta has done statistics, his master's in statistics, and also PhD in statistics from Rajasthan University. And he, from the very beginning, he has been working on educational statistics, data, and indicators, and how they can be used in education planning, in education forecasting, projections. So the entire his professional career is actually centered around this, whether could be census data, or it could be some other household service data, or it could be education data, beginning from Education India Volume 1, 2, 3 to the latest U-DISE. So how he has actually very instrumental in actually, though DICE was established by Professor Y.P. Agarwal, but it is during his resign as in charge of DICE that has taken leaps and bounds. And during his period, in fact, DICE has began to cover the whole of nation from 2005-6 onwards. And it is during his time that the DICE started covering secondary and higher secondary education as well. And it is his resign that DICE has even forayed into collecting the data of student-wise data. And during his time, that some kind of effort was made to streamline the database system at school education in terms of creation of certain school records through a committee under the chairmanship of Professor Govinda. During his time, that the very intensively technology was used in both collection, processing, analysis, and dissemination of data. So in any respect, the evaluation of data collection system in India, at least from 2000 onwards, till about 2018 or 17. So Professor Mehta's role is very, very critical, and whoever want to write can't ignore Professor Mehta's role in this evaluation of data collection system, particularly for school education. In fact, Professor Mehta and myself actually started the All India Higher Education Survey also. Now that again is being looked after by MHRD, as now Minister of Education. So in any respect, whether it is higher education or school education, you can't ignore the imprint of Professor Mehta. With these few words, let me welcome Professor Varghese, who is actually chairing the who is actually chairing the session. Let me also welcome Professor Mehta for his own for the release of his own book, and let me also welcome Professor G.D. Sharma, who was earlier with NIEPA as a head of the higher education department, or then higher education unit. He later on went on to become secretary UGC and also director to Center for the UGC affiliated institute. So he is well versed with the work of the Professor Mehta, and therefore we have invited him to speak about Professor Mehta and his book. Basically, his book is nothing about personal life. Essentially, it is a professional life. And let me also welcome Professor Sridhar Srivastava, Joint Director, NCERT, who is also involved in the collection of data in terms of All India School Education Survey. He was previously head of this survey department, and also he was involved in the NAS, National Achievement Service, and therefore, as a person, as an individual expertise, he is well aware of the developments, particularly with respect to school education data in various respects, not only about numerical and financial data that was collected in All India School Education Service, but also the achievement data in terms of NAS, the National Achievement Service. And I think this combination, Professor Varghese as the chairperson of this event, and Professor Mehta's book, and also Professor Judy Sharma's and Dr. Srivastava's combination is well suited for this function, for this event. And let me also welcome all the people, and let me welcome all the experts in this to this meeting. Now let me request Professor Varghese to formally release the book by way of it is of course virtual event, but still we have a couple of people. We are sitting here physically, very senior faculty members, Professor Sudhanshu Bhushan, Professor Pranti Panda, Professor A.K. Singh, and also family members of Professor Mehta are also here. And let me welcome, I forgot that, let me also welcome family members of the Professor Mehta and also my faculty members to this small physical event. But COVID has restrained us from going from big event. Let me request Professor Varghese to formally release the book.
Thank you, Mr. Reddy. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be chairing a session and releasing a book which encapsulates the most of the developments that have taken place in terms of evidence-based decision making in this country, for which NIEPA was essential. And I need not have to talk about NIEPA. NIEPA is a person of numbers. Mehta, Arun out of numbers is fish out of water. And he enjoys the data, he enjoys collecting data, he enjoys using data, he enjoys interpreting the data in the most convenient way. And the basis of many of the decisions that were taken, not only at the NIEPA level, at the All India level, were also based on the data that you have collected, that is U-DISE data. And not only in that, the government level.
Okay. No, somebody speaking.
So what you find is that essentially throughout India, throughout the country, you find that U-DISE data are used very systematically and very effectively. Not only that, in NIEPA, we also had a research program promoting use of U-DISE data, and several researches were conducted, not only for collecting data, but also for using the U-DISE data. So it gives me immense pressure to release something which encapsulates the changes that have taken place and the great contribution that Professor Mehta made, and thereby NIEPA as name is shown in a very good light, So may I take this opportunity to release them.